But let's, of course, start with this big story in the United States, where two global superpowers are playing a tug of war with reciprocal tariffs. In the past few days, the United States and China have both escalated the tariff rates, and no side is willing to step back. But the standoff is not just about trade and tariff alone. It's also now quite clearly becoming a war of power moves and changing the narrative. The latest company to be caught in this tariff war is Boeing. And what is interesting is this. Beijing has reportedly ordered all Chinese airlines to reportedly halt taking deliveries from the American aircraft giant. And according to a Bloomberg report, China is Boeing's largest market. Estimates have revealed that the Asian superpower was expected to facilitate 20% of the global demand for Boeing jets over the next 20 years. Now, in a tit-for-tat move, the United States has also slapped about 145% tariffs on China, while the latter has reciprocated with 125% tariffs on American goods. But Beijing says that it will not increase the rates further, and officials have requested the U.S. counterparts to abolish the tariffs. But beyond the retaliatory moves, there is more that is happening on the ground. Now, China is on a regional outreach program to diversify trade ties and also to find ways to cushion the blow from the heightened American tariffs. Now, President Xi Jinping is on a three-nation tour to deepen bilateral ties with regional neighbors and countries who are part of China's Belt and Road Initiative. After a two-day visit in Vietnam, Xi Jinping's next stop is Malaysia and Cambodia, both countries that he's not visited in 12 and 9 years respectively. The talks between the top leadership of both nations is still at a very early stage. But businesses in China are bracing for the impact, worried if they can even survive the escalated rates. The consumers are equally worried about bearing the brunt of inflation on goods.
U.S. tariffs on China have now reached 145%. The impact is very big for us because our main market is the United States. I hope that everyone can sit down and talk properly. It would be best to try to keep the tariffs at the same level as before.
Now, within China, other businesses are also trying some different trade tricks to attract buyers, and the luxury market has become a target. The Chinese manufacturers, interestingly, are taking to the social media directly to reveal the secrets of luxury products as to have them made in China at 1/10 the cost that buyers end up paying to the Western brands. While it remains unclear whether or not this affects American buyers, China's business owners are in an overdrive mode to find alternatives amidst a continuing trade war. The trade battle is also not free of rhetoric and jibes. And this is where it gets interesting. A top diplomat of China has taken a swipe at the American White House press secretary Caroline Leavitt for the choice of her dress. Now, Zhang Zhizheng, China's consular general to Indonesia, has stated that Caroline Leavitt was wearing a garment with Chinese lace on it, and he's called it a clear case of American hypocrisy in his post. Now, the diplomat's claims are unverified, but they highlight the growing rift between the two biggest trade giants in the world. All right, now to give us more perspective in terms of how this trade war is in fact playing out, we joined this broadcast by Dr. Volker Stanzel, who's a former German ambassador to China and also a senior distinguished fellow at the SWP in the German Institute for International and Security Affairs. He's joining us live on this broadcast from Berlin. Ambassador Stanzel, thank you very much indeed, sir, for joining us here on WION. And let me start off by asking you this. You know, no one expected this trade war to play out in the manner that it is doing. It is being dubbed as chaos and uncertainty all over. But are you surprised by the Chinese reaction, who seem to be more willing to take the Americans head on in the tariff war, matching them tariff for tariff, person to person, and also in the manner in which they've gone about and also, you know, reportedly asked the Chinese airlines to halt taking deliveries of jets manufactured by Boeing? Are you surprised by the Chinese response?
I'm quite surprised by the speed and how well planned the Chinese response is. I'm less surprised by the Chinese attitude, which obviously, if you compare it to the capricious policies pursued by Donald Trump looks very different. And it starts from a very different point of departure. It's a point of attitude, I would say. Xi Jinping has spoken of the Korean War, a war into which China went against all odds, and where it lost about 300,000 lives, but it stood steadfast. And that, for Xi Jinping, is a model to follow. He also spoke, that's 3 years ago, to China's youth of the need in times of economic problems to learn to eat bitterness. Again, the same kind of attitude. If things go bad, you have to stand steadfast. And that is what China is presenting us with now. That kind of attitude, which, as I said before, is a great difference to the attitude that we see from Donald Trump.
And also, since Donald Trump announced his tariff award, do you think there's been a change or a softening of stance on his part, where he's now exempted the big tech and these electronics companies from China in terms of the tariffs that he wants to impose? Do you think Donald Trump is beginning to recognize what he has done, where he perhaps hopes that the Chinese will reach out to him for some kind of negotiations, but will the Chinese reach out to the Americans, or do you think it is the Americans who will have to reach out for some kind of a deal?
I think Donald Trump, and he has said as much, wants the Chinese to give in. He wants Xi Jinping to be the first to call him, not he himself calling Xi Jinping, while the Chinese attitude is quite clearly, we will not be the ones to give in and to be the first to call. Now, has Donald Trump changed his outlook on the whole situation? I think it's extremely difficult to know what's going on in the head of the present president of the United States. But what is clear is that among his advisors, there are many different opinions, and there were already some verbal clashes between his advisors in trying to explain what is going on and what should be done. And to which advisor Donald Trump listens may change from day to day. We don't know that. But I think overall, the development is quite clear. Otherwise, he wouldn't have reduced the tariffs for 90 days again. And now is threatening to raise them afterwards even more, because he himself is looking for a way to reach the objective that he started to begin with, which is to get other countries, mainly, of course, the major opponent, which is China, to give in and give more money to allow America to make more money, which is the tariffs.
Right.
Donald Trump thinks you, as a country, you need to earn money, and the only way to do that is by raising tariffs.
Interesting. Thank you very much indeed, Ambassador Stanzel, for joining us with that perspective there.
You're welcome.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.